Hello ladies and gentle peeps, Game Chanel here, and today we're looking goddamn shiny, and that is because we're running the Mountain Lands build. If you didn't get the reference, you probably live under a rock, but just so you know, it's from Game of Thrones. But anyway, this build has a very high defense, and what I mean by that is not the defense stat, because if you look at it, we only are at 317. That is nothing, and that is because I haven't even upgraded the gear. Just because I'm running almost a new build every day, I'm creating a new build all the time, and I just simply don't have the Zenny right now to upgrade all of the equipment. I will eventually, but for this build it doesn't really matter because we're pretty much taking no damage at all, and the defense stat doesn't really matter to us for this particular build. So let me show you what kind of gear we're running and what the skills are, because this build actually has a very sick synergy. And similar to the hunting horn build that I did recently, your survivability rate with this gear and this build is very high. You're very unlikely to die. If you do, it's probably your fault and it's all on you. But anyway, let me show you what we're running. So we have the Puke final weapon. The reason why I'm running this is because I personally just like the poison damage. Overall, the attack is very low compared to some of the other high-end weapons. However, since we're not really hitting hard but very fast, for me the element is more important because there's a higher chance for us to applying that element. So 540 poison is really big. It also has 2 decoration slots, which overall, the more decorations that we can get in this build, the better. But what's actually nice about this is you don't have to run this weapon, and there's actually no weapon that you particularly have to run with this build. All that really matters are the decorations and the gear itself, and then for the weapon you can either go for style and choose the one that you like the most visually, or you can go for one that does the most damage or affinity, whatever you want to do. So that is 100% up to you. But for the gear, we are running the Barrow Helm Alpha, and that gives us 2 levels of guard. We also have the Nergigante Male Beta, that gives us 2 decoration slots and 2 levels of Stamina Surge. We have the Organ Vambraces Beta with a level 2 decoration slot and a level 1 guard. The Organ Coil Beta, again with 2 decoration slots and a Part Breaker, level 1. And then the Organ Graves Alpha, which gives us 2 levels of guard and a level 1 decoration slot. And then we have the Marathon Charm, which gives us 2 levels of Marathon Runner. We have the Challenger Mantle and the Rocksteady Mantle, and why I'm using those I'm going to explain to you in a second. But let's look at the skills and the synergies of this build. So let's start out with the guard. We have 5 levels, and at level 5 we massively decrease the impact of attacks and reduces stamina depletion by 50%. We actually only reduce the stamina depletion by 50% when we are guarding. So when we are guarding, there is a special attack, and let me show you that. I'm not going to go into the how to play the lance. For that, by the way, you should check out Rurikhan's video. He made a very detailed video about how to play the lance, but just for you to show what I mean. When you're blocking, you don't use any stamina, right? And then you can do the circle block and you can charge it and you still don't use any stamina. However, the highest form of blocking for the lance is actually circle and then press X and then hold it down, and you can block like this, and that blocks the highest attack. So let's say there's a very strong attack incoming and you're just blocking, and it's a very strong attack. This block might actually not be enough. Maybe this block is enough, but it's most likely not going to be enough either. So the final kind of blocking that you can do is the charge one with the axe. Alright, so as you can see, it drains our stamina while we're blocking, and when it runs out you can get hit again. So let's get back to the skills real quick. So when we're looking at the guard level 5, we reduce the amount of stamina that we lose, that we drain, by 50%, and that's quite significant because that way you can see an attack from miles away. You can start blocking. You don't have to worry about your stamina running out while this is incoming. Next, we have the health boost level 3. It all comes from decorations. We have stamina surge level 3, which we regain the stamina that we're losing from blocking or sprinting or dashing, evading, whatever. We recover it by 30%. 30% faster, basically. We have Part Breaker level 2, one level comes from Decoration, one level comes from the equipment. We have the Marathon Runner level 2, and then we have Speed Eating level 2 from Decorations, and Recovery Speed level 1 from Decorations again. And finally, we actually have the Organ Protection, which is guard up, the guard up skill, and that allows you to guard against ordinarily unblockable attacks. All right, this is pretty self-explanatory, but this way we guarantee we can pretty much block almost anything that comes at us in the game now. There's still a few attacks, I believe, that you can't block, but you'll pretty quickly learn which ones those are, trust me. But once you know how they look like, and you know, depending on the monster, you can just evade the very few that you can block. All right, so let's talk about the decorations real quick. Okay, so for the decorations, there's not that many that are really mandatory for this build, and you can actually make this build very unique and to your own liking. Now, this is only what I'm running right now. It doesn't mean it's the best, but what I would suggest is that you definitely have a destroyer jewel, and if you have two of them, go for level 3 and do additional 30% part damage, because the lance is actually great at destroying parts. So I only have one, so unfortunately I'm stuck at level 2 right now, and unless or until I find the next level, and then I would probably replace it with the level 2 decoration in my weapon, the Gobbler Jewel, most likely. So that's number 1, and then number 2 is the Refresh Jewel 2, which gives us the Stamina Surge level 3, so we recover our stamina that we lost even faster. So these two are the only important two. They're not that rare. I mean, I only got a few of them so far, but I mean, those two are really mandatory. For the rest, it's totally up to you what you want to play. If you feel like you're already taking pretty much no damage, and I'll show you that with some gameplay against the Diabolos later on, you'll see you basically take no damage anyway. But if you just want to have a little bit more, just so you really don't have to heal, or rarely have to heal, you can put 3 Vitality Jewels in here, just like I did. And then we have a choice. So if you end up taking, over the course of a couple minutes, you end up taking damage. You have to heal with a potion, most likely, if no one else has like a health powder or a health booster set down. So you have to use a potion. So there's 2 things that will quicken up the process from you to, to heal up and basically have your guard down, because we want to have our guard down as little as possible, and we want to be ready to block at all times. However, when we have to heal, that is quite a lengthy process, because it takes a little bit until the lance is sheathed, and then we have to drink, and that takes a while, and then all of that. All right, so what we can do to to speed up the process, is we can have the Gobbler Jewels, and they get us to well, up to level 3, depending on how many you want to have. I currently have only level 2, but they can greatly or moderately increase our item use speed. So that means instead of drinking for I don't know, 3 seconds for a great potion, or 2 seconds, it might only take a second. So that is much faster, and we're saving a lot of time there. The second thing, if you don't have any speed eating or Gobbler Jewels, not yet at least, what you can do is you can actually, let me show you, you can use the sheath right here, the sheath decorations, and that depending on how many you have, moderately, greatly, or slightly increases your sheathing speed. Now I would try to get to at least level 2 before slotting those, level 3 even better, because that way you can sheath your lance a lot quicker, and you can get to the potion a lot faster. Now obviously the ultimate combination would be having the sheath jewels and the speed eating jewels or decorations together. That would make it really quickly. I don't know, that might be a little bit of an overkill, to be quite honest with you. So I'm only gonna choose one of the two. Once I get enough sheathing jewels, let's say 3 of them, I'm probably gonna switch the Gobbler Jewels out for the Sheathing Jewels, because there's a little bit more utility to the Sheathing Jewel, because sometimes the monsters are running away, and the problem with the lance, if you're playing it already, it's really hard to catch up to a monster with it. I mean, yes, we do have the sprint, so that's fine. But sometimes we still want to put away our weapon and like let's say pick something up from the ground, you know, let that be crafting materials or maybe a stone or you know whatever it is, and then we have to sheave the thing. And then basically it's a lot faster this way. Sometimes we still want to sprint without our special you know sprint that we have with the lance. So there's more occasions when we profit or benefit from the quick sheaving rather than the speed eating. All right, so that is my personal opinion. But again, as far as the decorations, there's only two, maybe three if you you know have two destroyer jewels that are really mandatory. Other than that, you can really run whatever you want. So now that we covered the gear, I want to show you two more things that make this build very, very viable and very, very easy for beginners, especially newcomers to the lands, and it makes it a lot easier to pick it up and figure out when to block, and how to get the most out of it. So because we are, sorry, that's the wrong thing. Because we are running the marathon charm and we have it at level 2, ideally with the right decoration you can get it to level 3, and you want to try to get there. If you have the marathon runner decoration, awesome, put it in there. I only have it at level 2, but even at level 2 we're looking at reduced continuous stamina depletion by 30%. So that includes two things for us. That includes, for one, the guarding, when we have the guard, like the shield charged and on the ground, as I showed you earlier with the axe move, and then that also includes our lance, how do you call that, dash, when we run with the lance and the shield in front of us. That also that's also affected by the stamina depletion reduced. All right. So just to show you what I mean by that, and it's quite significant already at 30%, it's even better at 50%, but let me show you how long we can actually guard with this skill. All right, so let's take out the lance, and I'm gonna stop the time on my phone while I'm doing this, all right, to give you an approximate. All right, so let's do this. Alright, so we're looking at roughly 3.9 seconds with a full stamina bar, and yeah, it takes about 3.9 seconds to get from all the way to the like all the way from the top to the bottom of the stamina bar. Alright, so let's take off that charm just really quickly. Just let's go with anything, the sheaving. Alright, quick sheave. So let's do this again. Let me reset the timer. Remember, 3.9 seconds. Right, that took about 2.6 seconds. All right, so that is a bit. I mean, again, 30%. You could technically do the math anyway, and I didn't have to show you if you did the math in your head already. Well, good for you. Anyway, so that is quite a big difference, and especially if you have a monster that you're not too familiar with, and you don't know how long it's going to take until he actually does that tag. You know, sometimes they're charging up. For example, when the Diablos is charging at you, sometimes they're shaking the head before, or you know, they're doing a bunch of things. So rather than just timing it right, you can just do it pretty much at any time, and because you have so much time to guard, you'll be fine. Now, obviously, if you personally feel like this is already enough time for you, the 2.6 seconds are going to be enough for you to block anything. And once you're really good with the lance, this probably will be more than enough time to do that. You can switch out your marathon runner charm and you know, put something else in. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, maybe you want to increase your attack. You can go with an attack charm and some attack decorations. Maybe the quick sheaf even is the best thing for you. Totally up to you. You could go with part breaker if you wanted to. It's really, really up to you. But I want to show you one more thing, all right? And that's why I think this is also important. It's not just for the blocking. But if the monster is running away, you know, we have this move where we are, where we basically do this. Oops, sorry, my bad. Where we basically do this, right? So that also, as you can see, drains our stamina. Alright, so let me go back to this part right here. Alright, so, and I have measured it before, I'm not going to show you again, but I've measured the time before, and basically if we have the marathon runner on and only at level 2. At level 5, it's obviously going to be even we can sprint even longer. But at level 2, we're looking at 33 seconds of continuous running in this mode. All right, 33 seconds. Without the marathon level 2, we're only looking at about 23 seconds or 22 seconds, if I remember correctly. It's like a third, basically. So that can be a big difference, especially if you're trying to run through the monster a couple times by going forth and back and forth and back. So that can make quite a big of difference too. So it's totally up to you, as I said. If you feel like you don't need the additional the additional stamina reduction, then you're completely fine not using it. All right. Okay, so before I go into the gameplay and emphasize further on the strengths of this build, especially the guarding and minimal amount of health that we lose by getting hit when we guard, I just quickly want to talk about augmentations for your weapon. As I said, the weapon that you use for this build doesn't really matter. You can totally go for the one that you like the most visually, or the one that's for you the strongest or has the best element. You know, it's completely up to you. So let's look at the augmentations real quick. And now the Puke one has 2 decoration slots already. It has 3 augmentation slots as well. So what I would recommend is try to get to 3 decoration slots, because we benefit a lot more from the decoration slots in this build, and filling it up with, you know, something like quick sheath or speed eating, health recovery, vitality. All of these you need a decoration slot. So I would recommend trying to get to as many decoration slots as you can. Now once you have reached your max and you still have augmentation slots left, I would actually recommend health regen, because you regain health as you land attacks. With the lands, we actually land a lot of attacks, and very quickly, because we have the triple triangle and the triple circle combo. It's a very quick combo, and we only lose a small sliver of health every time we block, and I'll show you that in the gameplay too. You can see it yourself. And if we land a couple attacks afterwards, we're already back at full health. We don't even have to heal or use a potion. So I think this is overall 2 of those augmentations is what I'm gonna aim for this particular weapon. But what you could also do is you can increase the attack if you want to do a little bit more damage. I personally don't recommend using affinity increase, because 10% is not really worth it. Also, defense increase is, in my opinion, not worth it, since we already take almost no damage anyway. That little bit more of a defense doesn't do much for us. Alright, so now that we covered the augmentations, I'm going to show you some gameplay, and then I'll talk to you again after the gameplay for a quick second, alright? Alright, so once those 2 dudes are done, let me show you the blocking with all our skills. Alright, who's going to win? Alright. Well, who would have thought? Female always wins. If you didn't know, by the way, the Black Diablo is apparently female, ready to mingle. That's why she's black. Anyway, that was just a quick side note. Let's pick this up. Alright, we get it, we get it. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go into blocking, heavy blocking. What is this? Alright. Have to do this again. See the minimum amount of damage that we got, and we already recovered it. That's from the recovery gems that I'm using. Let's do it again. Okay, well, just went underneath us, so whatever. Let's try this again. And see how much time we have to do this. We can do it now, we can start. Look at the minimum amount of damage that we got. I mean, this is fairly noticeable. Let's do this. Charge. See how much time we got? Like, I totally underestimated when he was coming, but it doesn't matter, because we have so goddamn much time. Here we go again. Completely missed. Now, obviously, you want to start doing damage as well. You can't just block all the time. So, you have to Now out of the box, we're gonna and then we can just do this. Second one. Who sees the second one coming? Oh wow. Okay. Alright, well, this is sub-ideal. Gotta get out of here. Can't even see. Oh god. Okay. Oh my god. Let's heal up here for a second. Uh-oh. Shit. Okay, they ran out of stamina there. So I think you get the idea on how the guarding with this particular build works and how little damage we take, even if we fight two Diablos, as you saw in the gameplay. Before I finish up the video, I mentioned in the beginning that I'm running the Rocksteady mantle and the Challenger mantle. I quickly want to talk about that. The Rocksteady obviously prevents you from getting knocked back when the monster hits you, or when it roars, you don't get stunned, the tremors don't affect you, all of that. You also take a little less damage. So I don't know if it's really necessary to have this mantle, since you have the shield, you're blocking most of the attacks anyway, so you shouldn't get stunned to begin with. You could probably switch that out for a health boost and stay stationary, especially if you play this build by yourself without a group. And then I'm also running the Challenger mantle because I play in a group usually, and that promotes the monster to come to me. So that's really helpful if a player is low health or the group is low health, or maybe, you know, there's a big attack incoming, maybe a player is stunned. I don't know, there's so many reasons why you would wear this, but you put it on, the monster starts focusing you, and that way, you know, you can maybe save the group and be a hero for a day. But anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, suggestions, or concerns about this build, please post them in the comments down below, and I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up if you actually liked it. Also, if you want to subscribe, please be my guest. I'm a small channel, still growing, but every subscriber counts at this point. So yeah, but anyway, I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.